Hello and welcome to the Upon Further Review podcast brought to you by Field Street Baptist Church. On this podcast, your host Cody Kitchen sits across the table from Dr. John Hall as he reviews his Sunday sermon from the week before.
Welcome to Upon Further Review podcast. I'm your host, Cody Kitchen, and joined with me is our guest for today's show, Allison Kitchen.
Hello.
Allison is our preschool and children's minister, and as I'm sure a lot of our listeners know, she's one of my favorite guests that we've had on the show, not because I'm biased on our staff, because she's my wife as well. So, Allison, welcome.
Thank you.
Allison, tell the listeners about how long you have been here at Field Street Baptist Church.
So, Cody and I were called to Field Street almost exactly a year ago in September of 2021 from Pearsall, Texas. I began as the part-time interim children's minister here in January of this year and then joined the full-time staff in August.
All right. It's been a crazy year. We just hit our year mark that we've been here, and a lot's been going on in a year.
Yeah.
Well, today's show is going to look a little different than what we're used to with John and I, but we have done getting to know the staff twice already. We started with Jerry Melson, and then we also did Michael Pearson, our student minister. And today we have the privilege to do our third getting to know the staff with Allison. So Allison, to start off, to kick off this show, what is one thing that not a lot of people know about you?
This is a hard one. I had to think pretty hard for this question. But something that came to mind was that I have been to 7 European countries, and 6 of those were within the span of 12 days.
Wow. It's like you're like around the world in 80 days.
We had a lot of bus rides.
Look at you. Fancy. I would like to say I was not on any of those. Well, as I stated before, I want this time to be a time where our listeners can get to know our staff just a bit more than they might already do, and also what they do here. So my first question is, in about 3 minutes or less, can you tell us about your call into ministry?
Sure, yeah. This is always a fun question to answer. So when I began part-time in January, I was filling a need that our church had. I loved doing the children's ministry, but I wasn't foreseeing it being something that I would do long-term. So I was applying for some other full-time jobs, and it was just a very slow process, just waiting to hear back from them, things like that. And Pastor John and I had talked, and he brought up the possibility of going full-time, and I kind of just wrote it off thinking I wasn't really the person for the job. As time passed, I started rethinking the full-time thing. It was kind of something that just lingered in my mind. And I was really enjoying being with the kids and working alongside our other staff members and all of our volunteers that we have in the children's ministry. And I, of course, wanted to continue to serve my church. So then Cody and I started talking about it. And I told myself that I needed to seriously pray about what this could mean. So I did, and I started to gain clarity that this is where God wanted me. I had to set aside some fears and doubts that I had about myself, and other doors started to close, and I began to feel excited and an overwhelming peace about the opportunity. And at that point, I knew that I was being called to fill this role at Field Street. And so I went to John, told him the offer was still available, that I would like to pursue the opportunity to go full-time, and now here we are.
And what a great few months it has been, and we're, I think, as a staff, all delighted and excited to have Allison on our staff with us. And definitely, I get maybe a different view of her call into ministry than most, but it's been really cool to see how God has worked in her life and has obviously led her in this direction. So we're all excited. And my second question is what do you love to do when you have some free time?
Well, of course, I love to hang out with our son, Keegan. Have to give him a little shout out. He's 2.5, so he always keeps us entertained. I also love to bake, make things with my cutting machine, go for walks when it's not 100 degrees outside, or maybe just to relax in front of the TV and hang out with you, I guess.
Oh, yeah. All these people are now feeling awkward. I'm just kidding. Well, my third question is, what do you love about Field Street? And a follow-up question to that is, what are you excited about in the future of Field Street?
One thing that always comes to mind when people ask me what I love about Field Street is the people. I think this church is full of loving and welcoming, gracious people. And I know that I can speak for Cody and my family when I say that we have been blessed by this place and the people in it. We've also just made so many great friends since being here, and there's something sweet about having people to share life with that are in the same stage as you are, that have kids the same age. And I'm excited to watch as more families come into Field Street and are able to call this their church home, just like we have. And I'm also excited about the future, to watch the kids grow up and witness them just turn into men and women of God.
Yeah, good answer. Thank you. It's short and sweet. So my fourth question is, what is your favorite Bible verse and why? Can you kind of give an explanation of it?
Sure. So I really love Proverbs 31:30, and it says, "Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised." And this verse always just reminds me of where my true beauty comes from. It's so easy to be trapped in the world of comparison or negative thoughts. I think especially as a woman, if I can say that, there's just a lot of things that we see, we feel like we need to look or be a certain way. And I think this verse is just a good reminder that my purpose is to fear and praise the Lord and not to try to keep up with the culture.
It's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as I appreciate your time, and we always, this one's a short compared to John and I banter, but hey, it's a good time. So as we close, and as we always do, John always gives us some final thoughts. So Allison, this is my favorite part, so you can't mess this up.
Oh man!
Every week, John.
It's a lot of pressure.
I know, but can you give us some final thoughts, some last words, maybe some encouragement for our listeners?
I'm just thankful to be here at Field Street and be surrounded by all the people that we have here, what's going to come for this church. And I just look forward to being a part of it, being a part of the team, and what all of our different ministries will accomplish, and just what God's going to do here. So,
yeah, it's exciting. And we haven't really ever said this on the podcast, but if for some crazy reason that you came across our podcast and you're listening to this particular one and you aren't a member or haven't been coming, have never visited Field Street, we highly recommend that you come and at least check Field Street out. I'm a little biased, but I do believe that the people here at Field Street are so loving, as Allison has said, and we've been so grateful for that, and we love our staff and everybody else. So we recommend that you come and at least check it out, and we'd love to have you. And so as always, as we end this time of our podcast, and as we do every week, we ask that you remember, make Christ known by what you say and how you live. Y'all have a great week.
See you later.
Thank you all for listening, and be sure to subscribe to Upon Further Review so you never miss an episode. If you have any questions, please be sure to reach out to us at info@fieldstreet.com. Thanks for tuning in.